Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our presentation of the Sage financials. Today on the call, I have James Hall, the Sage Partner Account Manager, as well as John Ocean, the Sage Field Service Engineer, and they will be giving you an overview of the Sage Financial product and also a demo of the product. So without any further ado, let me hand it over to James.
Thank you, Stefan, for the introduction. Greatly appreciated, and thank you everyone for joining today. It's a real pleasure to be invited to this with our partner Computrack. I wanted to start off today with talking about starting with what we know. Now, I want to reassure everybody on the call, this is not a slide presentation. We're going to jump into the product pretty quick, but I just wanted to give a little bit of context off the top for those that perhaps Sage 300 users or other ERP solutions like NetSuite or Infor, Sage Intacct, in that space as well. I know that quite often looking at these solutions, especially something like Sage 300, formerly ACPAC, that what's important to you is the sales order management piece, the financial management piece, and the supply chain management piece. Quite often, we're dealing with customers that are using these ERP solutions that are in a manufacturing, wholesale, distribution, operations kind of space. And so these tend to be the clearest buckets. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit about those buckets and how in the context it's delivered through our new solution, Sage Business Cloud Financials. I brought this slide today because I want to show, again, going from what you know to introducing something new to you. All the boxes in the gray here, they are our traditional solutions that everybody's known and loved over the last 30 years, are Sage 50, Sage Business Vision, Sage 300, and yes, product development continues with that, and Sage CRM, HRMS as well. In the green, what you have is our new cloud-based platform. Cloud is an incredibly important thing that I'm going to go out on a limb and say isn't new. I know that our business development managers have been talking about it for 14 years now, but it may be new to some people. And so solutions like Sage Business Cloud Financials is a key part of what we're going to be talking about today, and how moving into that cloud-based ERP solution can really help facilitate the same needs that you've had with your typical ERP solution, but obviously introducing some innovative and some really, quite frankly, important operational and productivity steps. I bring this slide to bear because it's important to start with what's important to you. As a business owner, you're often dealing with low visibility around your financial data, and this is happening because either your business has grown organically over the years and it's led to a lot of complexity, or in some cases that organic development has led to productivity losses due to not refined processes. Or you've got operational silos where one group is working in a complete silo apart from your other distribution or wholesale or your finance management side as well, which of course leads to a lot of uncertainty. Questions around how are we doing from a cash flow? Where are our shortages? Where are our unpaid invoices? How do we track down our AR? And although you're able to do this inside the traditional environment with your ERP solution, the reality is our work environment has changed a lot. And so things are busier, things are a little bit more complex, you're not always in the office, and so you need to have access to better insights. You got to be able to simplify the environment because you don't want to spend all your time doing non-revenue generating activities that quite frankly aren't helping you move the needle from a profitability point of view. You want to be able to enhance that productivity. You want to be able to establish and create better collaboration, especially if you've got some young folks that you've hired. The millennial generation, quite frankly, is looking to be able to work in a different way than perhaps we have traditionally, and so collaboration tools are that much more important. And collectively, all of this together instills more confidence in your business. You know what's going on because you've got access to that information in a streamlined way, regardless of where you are. So who is Sage Business Financials right for? Well, it's right for the CEO, the business owner that's interested in software that helps them to be able to win and serve customers, to improve the culture and employee engagement. And I know that that's a lot to say, but the reality is this is what it does by streamlining your workflows, by automating some of those processes to enable people to work closer with their customers and closer together. So when we look at businesses that are between 10 and 200, 250 employees, this is a really great step into that ERP space, or transition from an existing on-premise ERP solution, especially if you've got a customer relationship management, and especially if you're using Salesforce today. So part of what differentiates Sage Business Cloud Financials from any other ERP is it's actually built directly into the Salesforce platform. John Ocean, our field sales engineer, can go into that in a little bit more as we go through the product. One of the things that I want to reassure you, as we are all Canadians, is Canadian data residency is obviously really incredibly important to us. It's sitting on a Salesforce platform. What the real value of that is, Salesforce's partnership with Amazon Web Services means that this data can be housed outside of the Montreal DC, which means that we've got Canadian data residency. And I've included a couple of emails from my own Outlook in here that just speak to that, from our Vice President of Product Marketing, as well as our Director of Product Management in Business Cloud Financials, reassuring and reinforcing the fact that Sage Business Cloud Financials data can sit in Canada. So overall, as an entire ecosystem with Sage Business Financials, you've got a solution that delivers automated banking, e-commerce, inventory management, payment, collaboration, manages timesheets, invoicing and billing, budget and planning, which is incredibly important, obviously, expense management, and as I mentioned, CRM. So as I promised, this is not a slide presentation. We're going to jump into the product right now with introducing John Ocean, our field sales engineer. Take it away, John.
Hey, thank you, James, for that introduction. John Ocean here, field sales engineer based out of Atlanta. My role is to bring that sizzle into the demo, as well as provide some context to that salesperson's yes here. So James did a great job here teeing up the solution. So we are natively built on the Salesforce.com platform. So with that being said, we are inheriting a lot of that technology on the back end. James touched on data protection and compliancy, so how that's offloaded off to AWS. Two other things that I want to mention is when it comes to access to this solution. Whether you're on your mobile, laptop, or your desktop, you're going to have access to your core accounting information. All you do is just need access to the internet to make that happen. And the last thing I want to touch on before diving into the product is about roles and permissions, user access. With Salesforce, you can get very creative on restricting or granting access to users, creating roles. So when it comes to that sense, you have the ability to lock down certain access, whether you just want some of your users to have read-only access or have read, modify, create, and edit. You can certainly set that up in any part or any piece of the solution. So diving in here, I'm going over the accounts tab right now. I'm going to be working from left to right across the screen here. So an account that Financials deems is anybody that you're going to be doing business with. So an account can be a customer, it can be a vendor, it can be an analyst. You have the ability to deem what specific type of that account is going to be. And right here, this is just a simple Salesforce list view. You do have the ability to save different list views based on certain filters and attributes. So from an ease of use and navigation, you can just only be looking at the accounts that are going to be relevant for you. And even if you want, you have the ability to bring in graphs here. So from an aesthetic piece, we really provide you the flexibility and be able to be creative and see that information on how you would like. So if you want to see that breakdown of just by industry or maybe accounts by rating, even the ability to see by location, you can pull in that information and see that information accordingly. So I'm going to dive in here to Kroger, one of my favorite local grocery stores here in Atlanta. And right now, this account is going to be deemed a customer. Within the details side, I'm going to have all the relevant information that's going to be pertinent for me right here front and center. The great thing about the Salesforce, or about the solution being on Salesforce, is you have the ability to add and take away any of these fields. So if you see something that's going to be relevant for you to have information on this account, you have the ability to add that in as a field. Or if something doesn't seem to be a good fit, just using the example ticker symbol, if you're not dealing with those public companies, you have the ability to remove that as well. Coming down here, you have the ability to plug in Google Maps, the ability to see that specific location. I do believe this is my local Kroger that I shop at right here. So diving back, if I want to see the related, now the related tab is going to be all my business that I have done with this specific account. And what a lot of customers really enjoy about this is just it's a 360-degree view of the account. You have all your invoices, all your sales orders, your travel expenses related, ledger entries that have been related to those invoices. You have a breakdown of all that information right here at your fingertips. You're not necessarily having to go dive off into the solution, specifically if you go into sales invoices and sift through these. And another question that I always get asked is, well, can you drill into those? And yes, you can. Through that hyperlink, you have the ability to drill into that specific invoice and see the related details to this specific sales invoice. This as well could be a purchase order that's going to have that same look and feel throughout the solution. So as I come down here, I see what the specific sales invoice was for, as well as the specific items and the tax breakdown. If it was a subscription or recognition, I would be able to see that information in here as well. So going back, another unique thing about our solution that separates us from some of the traditional accounting solutions out there is that we work off of dimensional accounting. So traditional accounting, you're going to have accounts and sub-accounts. With financials, you're going to have dimensions and tags. The best way that I like to explain dimensional accounting is, a dimension is going to be what you're reporting on at the highest level, while a tag is going to be that individual record that's going to be related to that dimension. So right now, this tag is Kroger. It's a customer tag, while the dimension is customer. Another good use case or use examples for this would be departments. Departments would be that dimension. Those tags related to the department would be legal, HR, accounting, sales. Those tags are going to have that direct relationship with that overall dimension. One that always seems to click with customers and prospects as well is the dimension of travel expenses. So within the travel expenses, you would have those tags such as meals, airfare, transportation. So you can see that relationship is really just that roll-up relationship right there. And with dimensional accounting, you inherit a lot of the benefits of our solution with having a consolidated chart of accounts. You don't necessarily have to build out 10 different sub-accounts underneath an account, because with dimensional tags, dimensional accounting, you have the ability to associate those tags with that specific account, so you're not having to have that lengthy COA. Another benefit to that is being able to bring in automation and posting rules into play. So when you're making those invoices, whether it's a purchase order or a sales invoice, you can have rules in place to make sure that it's going to hit the GL, and you can rest assured that everything is set in place for that. And it really speeds up efficiency around your process. And I'll give you an example of what that exactly looks like here in a little bit. Then the related side, you have the ability to house those contacts that are going to be related to this account, ability to pull in any opportunities associated to it. And from a case level, if you're working off service, you can have that information front and center, as well as any notes and attachments that are going to be important. So a lot of prospects and customers always ask me, hey, where can I put that important account information relative, whether it's scope of work or previously for previous calls? You can have that information live right in here. So scrolling back up to the top, One of the unique things about being on the Salesforce solution is just being able to leverage their audit trail. So any action that you execute on Salesforce, you're going to get an audit trail of not only who did it, but exactly when. So it's really great insight to see kind of how the transformation or the actions that have taken place on a certain account. You also have the ability to bring in account news, any information that's going to be front and center that the press is speaking about. You can even bring in a Twitter feed if you like. This really just comes down to being creative and how you would like to set up your page view right here. We also have chatter functionality. So I'm not sure if it's just my generation or just the way I enjoy talking to my colleagues, but I'm not the biggest fan of email. So with the chatter functionality, it brings in that social element into the solution. So here I can mention somebody. This is very similar to a Twitter or a Facebook. I can mention my best friend Derek over here and say, can you look into this? It can be on a specific transaction. It can be overall account. But Derek is going to get notified in app. It's going to pop up right here in this notification bell. And if you want, you can even let him know that he's got a chatter post sent out via email. But this is just one good way to keep that communication, keep that flow of work, and keeping that productivity on an ultimate high. As well as this chatter is going to give you a chatter history post, or a post of all the chatter that you've had recently in that conversation. So it's a kind of a great audit trail in there. So before I go off and dive into the AR side of the house, I just want to show you, if you wanted to, you have more than the capabilities to create a new sales order or sales invoice. If this was a vendor, this would be a purchase order or a bill. You do have the ability to execute that right from the account page. So it's kind of very powerful, just being that central hub for all your business. So coming over here to sales, this is going to be on the AR side. You're going to notice that there is a lot of tabs here at the top. I just want to point out this is a demo environment, so we're really just highlighting the art of the possible on what you can do with the solution. So if your process is to go from a contract proposal to a sales order, then ultimately to a sales invoice, we can mirror that flow. We definitely don't want you to have to compromise on the way that you've been doing business and something that's working for you. But just highlighting, you can also add or remove any of these tabs. So it can be as light or as configurable as you'd like. So coming over here to the sales orders or sales invoices, this is going to be a list view, very similar to the account what we were looking at. You do have the ability, just like on the accounts, to save multiple list views. So for ease of use, really nice to navigate around on that, only see information that's going to be important for you. For bringing in sales invoices, whether it's or bringing in any invoices or any transactions, you do have the ability to bring those over via CSV. You can do it automatically and a few ways via automation if you have some APIs set in place. For today's exercise, I'm just going to go create a new one here manually. So as this pulls up, I'm going to be able to click on the header information. So the header is going to be related to the specific sales invoice. So I'll go along with that theme and clicking into my Kroger account. As you can see here, these fields are going to populate the contact as well as the tax treatment. These are both tags, and now I've associated these tags with this specific account. If I wanted to, I could have populated this whole header accordingly, just based off selecting that account. Then on the back end, it specifically knows where to post that GL. This is just one of the benefits of using dimensional accounting. Really kind of just speeds up that process and really just sets you up for success. So on payment terms, you have the ability to net 30, 60, 45 if you'd like. Fill this information in accordingly. We do have the ability to do subscription, whether it's a subscription sales invoices as well as recognition. So how you want to recognize that revenue as it's coming through. It's very similar, just setting up the dates and frequency on how you would like that to execute. So after I have the header information filled out accordingly, let's go ahead and save and add items. So with this, we are leveraging Salesforce's price books. This is where you're going to house your products and services. So with Salesforce, there's no limitations to how many price books that you can have. So you can have price books set for certain vendors or customers. You can have a discount price book. There's really no limitation to that. You can get creative as you'd like. So let's go ahead and just select consulting hours. So as I have this, so as I select this product consulting hours, this service, it's automatically going to pull in that description, know the unit price, as well as the tax code associated to it. This is just all information that's going to have the consulting hours of that product and service associated to in that price book. As a user, you do have the ability to set discount, whether it's by percentage or amount. If you wanted to, these are also tags that are not mandatory, but they are optional. So you can pull in employee if you'd like, employee in here. If you wanted to go, just using this as an example, I always kind of joke around with just adding ice cream flavor. So anything that you want to pull in here, you have more than the ability to do so. And what's great for this is just the more information that you capture, you're able to get granular reporting on that. So based on your services, if you want to see what your employees are invoicing or a specific location or department, you have more than the ability to pull that in. If you wanted to, you could come over here and do some inline editing so you're not necessarily having to reinvent the wheel. You can keep adding those products and services accordingly. Let me go ahead and save. Get rid of that. Looks like it's going to ask me to put that in there. And go ahead and save this. Try using that as an example here. So let me go back into the sales. Just use this one for an example. So coming back in here, I'm going to get a list of this specific invoice, whether it's breakdown, still using consulting hours right here, change up the price. You get a tax breakdown as well on this information. Now with about this, when you save, it's not going to automatically post to your GL. So you do have permissions in place, so you can do roles, you can submit for approval. So with submitting for approval, you can get very creative on this. So you can set specific triggers or thresholds around where you need to submit for approval, whether it be based on certain dollar amount, certain discount percentage, based on certain user, vendor, or customer. You can get very creative on how you want to set up that approval process. You can set it multi-layers if you'd like. Just knowing that we have that flexibility right there. So that was on the AR side of the house, but let's go in to see what that specific PDF would look like. So this is something that you would email out to your prospects. So this is my fictitious company, Prestige Worldwide Consulting. So anything that you see, you can add, whether it's on the header or at the item level. You have the ability to pull into this specific sales invoice and send that out to your customer. So that was the AR side of the house. So let's dive over into the AP. The AP is going to be very similar in a way. You have those tabs up at the top. So if your process is to go from a vendor order to bills all the way to payments to vendors, we can execute that. Just want to make sure that get the point across that you don't have to compromise with going with a solution like this. You do have the ability to same way of getting the invoices or getting in these bills, whether it's you want to do it manually, import it via CSV, or automation via some few APIs. So if I go over here to payments to vendors, you do have the ability to print multiple checks at once, so you don't necessarily have to do it a one-off. That definitely wouldn't be a good customer experience there. So coming over here, go ahead and print this check stock off. And these checks are going to load accordingly. We do have the ability to mirror your check stock, so you can have that same look and feel that your vendors or customers or vendors are used to here. So we can mirror that up. So on the other transaction side, anything outside AR or AP, such things as expenses or entering in your payroll, you do have the ability to do so and have that breakdown. So you can have areas where you can report on this information. It's kind of great insights, and I'll dive into the reporting functionality here shortly. On the bank side of the house, we do have bank reconciliation functionality. So let's go over here, and you can have multiple banks inside the solution. This is a demo bank rec account set up, so it can give you an idea of the execution process. This loads up, I'm going to be able to get my transactions and be able to validate from it. So as this pulls up, I do have the ability to reconciliate this right here. And it's going to be able to pull all those sales invoices numbers up. You do have the ability to split this accordingly. So if the customer doesn't pay all the way in full, you do have the ability to set that up accordingly. With bank reconciliation, there is some automation comes in play, whether you want to match by sales invoice number or a few other attributes. You can rest assured that the transaction or the bank reconciliation is going to mirror up accordingly and do that double entry accounting here for you after it's executed. So going over to stock, the solution does have light stock capabilities baked in. What I mean by light stock is it works best with finished goods. So something, if you're a computer manufacturer and you have different parts laid out, your motherboard, your keyboard, etc. on that's not going to be best use case. We do have partners in place for that. It's one of the benefits of being on the Salesforce platform is being able to leverage that ecosystem. But for finished goods, more than likely would be able to meet your needs on that. So the ability to track stock movements, have SKUs placed in here, get very creative on the capabilities that we do have. So going over to the financial reporting, there's a few different flavors of reporting that we offer, and I'll show you two of that today. So this is probably something that you're more used to in a traditional system is the just general ledger analysis. There's kind of a breakdown of your balance sheet right here. You do have the ability to pull any line item off your GL into this specific report. You have the ability to set different columns over here, whether it's closing, opening balance. You can set that up accordingly. So going back into here, there's just an idea of what the balance sheet looked like. Now let's check out a P&L. It's going to have that same look and feel. As you notice, different columns up here changed, but you do have the ability to bring in any of those items that are going to deem fit for you. Now with Salesforce being on this platform, we do inherit the reporting technology, and I do believe the reporting is really second to none in the space. Really allows you to slice and dice the data in any way you like. So this is my Glengarry dashboard. Typically, a dashboard is going to be a set of reports along with a specific theme, but for this purpose, I kind of just dump in those top reports all into one single dashboard. With financials, you do receive over 150 out-of-the-box reports and dashboards. And what's great about these reports and dashboards is that gives you a foundation to work off of for reporting. To understand, every business is going to be a little bit different when it comes to reporting, so it just gives you a nice framework to work off of, so you're not necessarily reinventing the wheel. You do have the ability to pull in or isolate if you're in a If you have multiple companies, you do have the ability to pull in those in a report, or just the ability to isolate accordingly. Just look at AR, top sales by customers, as I come in here, just give you an idea of what's going on. As this loads up aesthetically, Salesforce really allows you to shape this report however you'd like and set this up. So from an aesthetic standpoint, it can get really flexible on how you'd like to see that data. So right now, it's just a matrix report breakdown across the periods of those sales invoices across those customers. Let me show you how simple it is to go edit out one of these reports. It's right here on the left-hand column. I have all these data points, all these fields that are going to be related that I can pull into this report. So if I just wanted to isolate and just see those sales invoices for April, I can come over here. These are the different operators. I could set it equal to 04 April, but just do it short and just contains 04. And now I'm only isolating out April. So if I go back and run this report, I'm only going to see those transactions or see those sales invoices for that specific month. But something like that that's simple to go in there and edit out one of those reports. And the last thing that I want to show you is Einstein Analytics. Now with Salesforce, typically this is a separate seat, a separate solution, but we are one of 2 partners that have licensed this out, so this comes baked in with the solution set up. Now the great thing about Einstein Analytics is all these reports are 100% mobile ready, as well as this intuitive reporting. So as this loads up, you have the ability to change this information on the fly accordingly. So typically you can set, if this was loading here, I have the ability to drill in separately into just marketing or legal. To refresh, see if that does the trick. Yep, here we go. So if I just wanted to drill in specifically on an individual department, it's very dynamic in sense of it changes here on the fly. I can set that up. If I just wanted to isolate just one company out or just see a groupings of companies, I have more than the ability to do so up here. It's unique in a sense that it's very dynamic. You can change things on the fly to it. As well as if you're project-based, you do have the ability to drill into just specific projects and see what the KPIs for that. If you wanted to, you do have the ability to set notifications, set alerts. So let's just say if it, shoot me off an email if expenses, hover over 2.5 million, you do have the ability to set that alert and you will get notified on that. So it's just kind of making sure things are top of mind and front and center for you on that. Diving back into the solution, I'm going to pass the ball back off to James. But that was a nice high-level overview of the financial solution. Hope you're able to get some value around that, and looking forward to talking here in the near future.
John, thank you so much for that. It's quite extensive. A couple things I wanted to go over off the top was the multidimensional. I think you explained that really, really well. One of the things that I really love about multidimensional accounting is back in the day when I'd have to post to, I've got 150 to 200 different GLs just around sales alone. Inherently, I'm going to make a mistake at some point. I'm going to post it to the wrong sales GL. It's going to mess up the trial balance. There's a bunch of implications to this. One of the things that I love with multidimensional accounting is it pretty much eliminates that issue. And so from a accuracy point of view, from a productivity point of view of being able to post faster, it's a really incredible advancement in terms of the way that we're doing accounting. The other thing that I want to mention on is for those companies that are into heavier manufacturing, and to John's point of looking at computer, and you've got computer components where you're custom building a solution for your end customer. We've got additional partners to be able to add on to that that environment. Again, one of the strengths of it sitting on this Salesforce platform is we've got access to what's called the Salesforce App Exchange, which is essentially a marketplace for all sorts of applications that integrate with Sage Financials. In short, what does that mean? It means if you don't see it here, chances are there's an app for that. So as cliche as that sounds, it speaks to the extensibility and the capability of this solution again. So Stefan, I don't know if you wanted to open this up to questions at all, but I hope that I'd love to hear the feedback and what people think of the solution if there's any questions out there.
All right, yeah, if anybody has any questions, you can hit the little mic to unmute yourself and ask James or John.
Don't be shy, we're all friends. Well, if there's a, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I guess you guys did a good job. There's no questions, but yeah, if there are any questions, you guys can always reach out to me, Stefan, and I could forward those on to James or John and get them answered for you.
Sounds good.
Again, Stefan and Computrack as a whole, thank you so much for inviting us in today. And everyone have a fantastic day. And I hope that we have an opportunity to extend this conversation around Sage Financials and how it might be able to help your business. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.